The Communist Party of China's anti-corruption campaign is unrelenting. Why is the party focusing so intensely on supervision and discipline? Why now? We have entered the run-up to the 19th Party National Congress, to be held in late 2017, when party leaders will be chosen and party policies will be set for the ensuing 5 years. In this context, why was the recent meeting of party leaders in Beijing, the 6th plenary session of the previous 18th National Congress, a milestone in party history? How to assess the party's new norms of political life and its regulation of supervision? What about inter-party democracy? What can we infer about how China's leaders are thinking? And what about the position and authority of party leader Xi Jinping? We follow inter-party dynamics to keep closer to China. The Communist Party of China has concluded its 6th plenum of the 18th Central Committee in Beijing. It issued 2 documents specifying new norms of party political life and new regulations to strengthen party supervision and discipline. The plenum stressed party unity, calling on all members to unite closely around the CPC Central Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping as the core, a new and meaningful designation, while recognizing the importance of collective leadership.
President Xi Jinping's speech draws up an important plan to strengthen and regulate the political life within the party and consolidate inter-party supervision. It makes specific requirements on better jobs in various fields in the party and the country, and proposes innovative new thoughts, ideas, and conclusions. It is a scientific guide and the program of action for us to have a new and comprehensive state of being strict in party discipline and advance the various causes in the party and the country.
The country's robust anti-corruption campaign was a major topic of the plenum, with names named and warnings given. Leaders approved a series of stricter standards of political behavior and tougher regulations of supervision and enforcement. It comes at a time of expanding membership and rapid and profound social transformation. Delegates said they would address election malpractice and put an end to the buying and selling of official posts and vote rigging. The Communist Party of China holds a plenary session at least once a year in Beijing to develop policies and make key decisions. I speak with 2 party thought leaders. Minister Ye Xiaowen, a full member of the 18th CPC Central Committee, just attended the 6th plenum. And Professor Xie Chuntao, an expert on party building, is from the party school of the Central Committee of the CPC. Minister Ye, as a member of the Central Committee, you attended the 6th plenum. What were the highlights?
I'm a member of the 18th CPC Central Committee and used to be an alternate member of the 16th and 17th Central Committees. I've attended more than 20 plenary meetings of the Central Committee, yet this recent 6th plenum offers us many highlights. I'd say the plenum gives me much more confidence as a party member. It gives a strong signal to the world and those who doubt China's ability to achieve leapfrog development that the Communist Party of China will be more than resolute. It definitely can lead China toward prosperity.
There were 2 documents that were published. One was the norms of political life under the current new situation. The other was amendments to the intra-party supervision regulation. Why were there 2 documents? What's the purpose of each one? How do they contrast with each other? And what can we learn from each of them?
Well, for the party to lead well in peacetime, harness a market economy while focusing on economic development, and lead the nation into prosperity, it must strengthen party discipline. Power can be a double-edged sword. With so much power in hand, the party has experienced many problems within. Laxity and corruption erode the integrity of party members. Even the seniors are no exception. So the key is to establish a sound system and create a healthy political ecosystem. According to President Xi Jinping, the political environment is very similar to the natural environment. When political smog sweeps across the environment, even a so-called man of integrity can be tempted into indecent behavior. Therefore, to comprehensively strengthen party discipline, we focus on two key issues. Party members have their own political beliefs and should stay true to their mission to serve the people. They should show their loyalty to the party and obey party rules. In summary, to manage the party well, the core lies in the political life of party members. Therefore, the first document is on the norms of party members' political life. By regulating their political life, we aim to create a clear and spirited environment for them. That's one document. But what about the other? Although the two documents appear to be quite similar in content, they emphasize different things. The second document focuses on supervision. As I said, power without checks can easily lead to corruption. The Communist Party enjoys increasing power, and with power comes responsibilities, which should be supervised well. How? Through intra-party supervision, supervision from the public, and supervision based on laws and regulations.
The former document is meant to set the rules, as well as spell out good traditions, requirements, and best practices to strengthen party building. They aim to enhance the most important principles. Among party regulations, its importance is second only to the CPC and way higher than others. As for supervisory regulations, they are mainly to supervise the party from within. They include rules on who supervises, how to supervise, and through what means.
The party has been the leading party in China, the ruling party, the vanguard of society since the founding of the People's Republic in 1949, so now for a very long time. But it seemed in recent years that as the market was becoming more important, that the role of the party, at least in the supervision of the economy or enterprises, was getting slightly less. That seems to have been reversed now, where in recent years the role of the party has actually been strengthened and increasing. So do you see the Sixth Plenum as sort of an official statement that indeed the requirement for the party to exercise its leadership is now even more important, and it is more involved in the direct leadership of all of society, including the economy?
The CPC is the leading and ruling party in China, so it makes use of state machinery and government power to bring the role of the market into full play. In the meantime, it promotes effective control at the macro level. As China undergoes an economic transition, we can't just leave everything to the hands of the money-oriented market economy. We need a careful restructuring of the economy for sustainable and green development. We must optimize our development model for science-based development. All these call for macro control, which makes it important to have a strong government. As we develop a market economy, we're determined to build a prosperous society and ensure all 70 million people are lifted out of poverty. But sheer market behavior can't guarantee that goal can be achieved.
One of the major outcomes of the Sixth Plenum was that General Secretary Xi Jinping was now designated as the core of the CPC Central Committee, and much of the international media has focused on President Xi becoming the core as an indication that maybe China is increasingly restricting the contribution of different voices and different opinions to the development of the country, be they social or political or economic. There is in the documents a recognition that intra-party democracy should be enhanced, that individuals should cohere to the policies of the party, that personalities should not be worshipped. Speak to some of these other issues that the documents talked about in terms of intra-party democracy, so that people can see the balance between President Xi as core, but yet intra-party democracy, different opinions still being part of the development of China's obviously complex society.
Actually, the relationship is specified in the communique. As Chairman Mao once remarked, centralism and democracy, discipline and freedom of speech, and core leadership and different opinions can coexist in harmony. All the elements together build a positive and lively political ecosystem. I think the West can rest assured that after the calamity of the Cultural Revolution, China will never repeat the same mistake. Lessons from hardships are the most memorable. Please do not worry about us. There's no chance for China to relive past wrongdoings. The reason we called for a core is out of the country's need for synergized efforts, pooled wisdom and progress towards one direction. As a large developing country with more than 1.3 billion people, China seeks rapid and sustainable development. As a large party with more than 80 million members, the CPC seeks stable leadership. But there must be a core to lead and coordinate. Otherwise, different voices and ideas with scattered wisdom would clash. But once we confirm the core leadership, we can pool and synergize wisdom. It's just like sailing a big ship. It's a must to have a captain. Otherwise, the ship would capsize with everybody paddling toward their personal directions. That's why the core is necessary.
The Sixth Plenum is focusing on the strict governance of the party, which is the fourth of the four comprehensive Suguchuanmian. If I look at the last several plenums, they are in fact the four comprehensive. The third plenum was on reform, economic reform. The fourth plenum was on rule of law. The fifth plenum was on a moderately prosperous society, dealing with the 13th five-year plan. And now the sixth plenum is the fourth of the four comprehensives. But the order in which the plenums occurred is not the order that were given in the four comprehensives. In both cases, the strict ruling of the party was last. It was the last plenum, and it's the last of the four comprehensives. Is that where it should be? Should the governance of the party be the last of the four?
The sixth plenum is on comprehensive discipline. It's very interesting to see that as President Xi comes up with a strategic plan of four comprehensives, each plenum serves a seminar on one topic. If we look at the sequence of the four comprehensives, we notice that building a prosperous society comes first. This is the goal. The second lists reform, which is the measure we are using. The third is advancing law-based governance comprehensively, which to me is meant to foster a sound environment for legal rule. The last of the four comprehensives, put forth as the topic for the sixth plenum, is comprehensively strengthening party discipline. I deem it as a guarantee. Each of the previous three comprehensives needs a resolute party to lead and promote it. If we fail in party building, none of the rest of the goals can be achieved. The reason President Xi also emphasizes strengthening party discipline is to ensure the permanent core leadership of socialism with Chinese characteristics, so that the party can lead the Chinese people toward the nation's rejuvenation. Therefore, I regard this last comprehensive as having a much deeper meaning than just being a measure against corruption. So although it's the last of the four comprehensive, I believe it's of utmost importance.
The concept of the governance of the party has been in China since the revolution. The party has always been the vanguard, and in each generation of leaders, we've always seen corruption come up in some high-profile cases. I sense a difference has been in the past. How would you characterize the difference today under President Xi Jinping from previous times in terms of the governance of the party in general and anti-corruption in specific?
In my view, the leadership's measures are different from those of the past. First, the resolve is firm. The intensity is tremendous. Since the 18th Party Congress, many senior leaders have been penalized, and the fight against corruption goes on. A Chinese history writer once commented that none of the anti-corruption campaigns in the past were as intense as those of today. Second, President Xi prioritizes resolve issues starting from systems. Less than 4 years since the 18th Party Congress, there were more than 50 intra-party regulations amended and revised by the CPC Central Committee. President Xi not only stresses the importance of coming up with these rules, but also focuses on putting them into practice.
Most people in the world are familiar with China's anti-corruption campaign, but that's only one part of the concept of governing the party in a strict way. So if you look at the totality of governance of the party, what are some of the big categories?
Party building for the CPC has 5 aspects. First, building ideology. That is, the party has to constantly strive for new theories to unite thinking within it. In this regard, the CPC has done very well in the past. Mao Zedong thought the theoretical foundation of socialism with Chinese characteristics is a good example. Second, building the party structure, including training new party members and initiating other regular activities at different party levels, especially organization at the basic level. We should make it work. Team building for party cadres, including selecting certain cadres and managing them, are also very important. Third, establishing the party's work style. For instance, since the 18th Party Congress, President Xi Jinping has gone strongly against ill party styles, one of which was hedonism. In the past, some officials used public money for wining and dining and may spend about 70,000 to 80,000 RMB, or around $10,000 per meal. People now show zero tolerance to that behavior. President Xi has combated that behavior with an iron fist. Fourth, building a clean government. According to President Xi, CPC members, especially those serving in public offices, are public servants who should strive for the happiness and well-being of the people and can never be tolerated. Since the 18th Party Congress, the party has been very determined in its crackdown on corruption. Their efforts even extended to foreign countries. Through cooperation with foreign countries, they are determined to bring corrupt officials to justice. Fifth, building a sound system. According to President Xi, the values, ideals, and faith of the CPC must be turned into specific systems and institutions. Party members and cadres are to be managed through them. Obviously, we have made headway in this.
As part of its fight against corruption, China has stepped up its fox hunt campaign to track down wanted officials and executives hiding overseas. As a result of these operations, in the last 10 months alone, China has repatriated more than 630 fugitives from nearly 70 countries and regions around the world. Nearly 1/3 of the fugitives will be charged for cases involving about $1.5 million US, and nearly 60 face charges involving over $15 million US. The Ministry of Public Security says China will continue its efforts to hunt these foxes overseas through intensified international cooperation. You mentioned the international attention on China's anti-corruption campaign, and that's absolutely true. And if I read the foreign media, I would come away with a little bit of a different perspective than the one you're giving me. The foreign media in general would attribute the anti-corruption campaign, not in total, but in part, to a political struggle or political consolidation of power within a one-party system structure. Others say that it's also helpful to break up interest groups that might retard a desire for reform.
I also noticed some voices of doubt, not only from abroad, but also from within China. For example, you just mentioned power struggle. Actually, many Chinese have pointed out this phenomenon long before, and very specifically indeed. They used to say many provinces have seen big tigers or senior officials brought to court due to corruption. Only Zhejiang and Fujian are exceptions. The message is quite clear. The two provinces are where President Xi used to work. So the indication is that the anti-corruption campaign is a selective campaign. But today, nobody says such things anymore. The reason is that those two provinces have seen senior officials removed as well. So if today people still claim that the anti-corruption campaign is just a formality and for showing off, I will not agree. Videos of those high-ranking officials being interrogated have been broadcast on TV. And I noticed that they have all pleaded guilty and repented for their wrongdoing. This applies to Zhou Yongkang, former member of the last standing committee. It's the same for lower-ranking officials. I believe the court's judgments can stand the test of time and justice and are in accordance with Chinese law.
Is there any benefit to the anti-corruption campaign in helping the desire and need for deepening reform, because everybody talks about that reform is resisted by certain interest groups?
The anti-corruption campaign will surely promote reform. Conversely, reform promotes the anti-corruption drive even more. Several corruption cases tell one simple story. Officials were tempted to be corrupt because of their unchecked power. For instance, officials in charge of selecting and promoting cadres, approving land transfers, and reviewing and granting administrative issues are often more likely to commit corruption than officials in other positions. In some provinces, the head of the transportation department is responsible for building highways and controls construction projects, and is very likely to cross the red line. So their corruption is, to a large extent, due to their tremendous power that lacks sufficient monitoring and checks.
Describe very briefly how the disciplinary commission actually works. Are there systematic processes that they have to go through to deal with corrupted officials?
For the Commission for Discipline Inspection of the Central Committee, there is a set of procedures to be followed when reports arrive. First, if the subject of a report is an official at the grassroots, the Commission would not get directly involved. Instead, the report would be passed down to relevant departments directly in charge. Only provincial level or ministerial officials would be investigated by the Commission. Lower-level officials are for lower-level commissions. If an investigation proves the report true, the official concerned would be penalized. But of course, there are false reports. Some might report officials he or she doesn't like or has conflict with. If so, the Discipline Inspection Commission will make clarifications after their investigation in the interest of justice. If this is the case, the official is clean. This work is very important.
Many in the West feel that it is fundamentally impossible to reduce corruption to a substantial degree. How does the CPC deal with, in essence, the lack of checks and balances?
I do understand doubts from Westerners. According to Western belief, that way of thinking is quite natural. But I think there are many differences between China and the West. For instance, intra-party supervision is quite effective in the CPC because the party knows the destructive force of corruption will lead to the party's collapse. President Xi has pointed out this simple idea not too long ago. Other leaders have shared similar views. I trust the party's resolve in its anti-corruption fight. It's a must to show self-responsibility. But more importantly, it is for the benefit of the country and the people.
The intensity of the anti-corruption campaign has been very significant. Some people worry that such intensity has an inhibition on officials, executives of state-owned enterprises to do creative things. People don't want to get in trouble. They might have done something in the past that was questionable. So the best thing to do is to do nothing. Because if you do something, you'll be looked at and maybe get in trouble. If you do nothing, you'll be fine. Is there a danger that the anti-corruption campaign is putting a damper on the creativity and initiative of officials and executives?
I think we should take that question this way. It's true. Without regulations and systems, people dare to do But that might lead to foolhardiness, which is even worse than doing nothing. Therefore, we're creating a pressurized environment on purpose. After all, doing nothing is better than committing evil or doing the wrong things. So please think twice before you act. This is about suppressing the symptom and addressing the root cause of corruption. It's true that we now have concerns about overregulation, but in general, doing nothing is not that pervasive among officials. And as I described, if we foster a sound and clear environment, people would be encouraged to do good things. If you have no qualms about something, why fear taking moves? Only thieves and gangsters should be intimidated. If your goal is to lead people in achieving prosperity through diligent work, how can you get overcome by fear? If you are an official of ambition and integrity, and you know that the days for trickery are over, what excuse do you have for doing nothing? All in all, judging from the favourable social environment at present, I'm confident that good people are encouraged and have more opportunity for outstanding accomplishments.
What steps do you look for in the future that would institutionalize the strict governance of the party in general and anti-corruption in specific? What kinds of institutions that would standardize the process and take the differences that different leaders might have away and institutionalize it on a fair and equal basis going forward?
The CPC has set 3 periodic targets. The first is to make officials dare not to be corrupt, which has already been realized to a certain extent. The second target is to make officials unable to become corrupt in the first place. That can be achieved through regulations and checks, so that they have little chance of success in corruption. That's now being implemented and has had initial results. But more needs to be done in the future. The third target is to make officials not want to be corrupt. Although it seems that we have a long way to go in terms of that, I believe remarkable achievements have already been more or less made. The party highlights education for cadres so that they know how CPC members should behave. Traditions and revolutionary years have also been used as educational material. But to my understanding, education through warnings would be more important and effective. Cases of corrupt officials being punished would warn others and offer valuable lessons. Cadre selection and management will both become stricter in the future. In this way, younger candidates will be aware of the importance of being a qualified official in China. Otherwise, punishment awaits them at the end of the road. I think such an environment has already been created. The future can only be better.
Here are highlights of the 6th plenum. The party confirmed that strict governance and self-purification are of the highest importance. Party discipline and supervision must be enforced, battling corruption with no exceptions and zero tolerance, and rectifying work styles. A system that tolerates errors made in reform and innovation is encouraged, a new way of thinking. As widely reported, Xi Jinping was designated core of the party central committee and of the whole party, a generational elevation in power and authority. Less widely reported were an affirmation of intra-party democracy and an admonition to forbid adulation. 2 detailed documents were issued, norms of intra-party political life and intra-party supervision regulation. The purpose of all these pronouncements was to strengthen the party and bolster confidence in the party, empowering the party to break new ground in governing the country, all leading to the 19th CPC National Congress next year. That's closer to China.